So first of all, congratulations on Presumed Innocent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tell me what brought the two of you together to work on this project.
Well, I've been wanting to work with JJ for a long time. We've known each other a long time. He's a very, very busy man, and but we always vowed that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And this project came up. He had it. I wanted to do it. I think I came to them and said, "How about this one?" And the confluence of circumstances, we were off to the races.
Yeah, it was it's been a dream of mine for a long time to work with David. I've been such a fan for so many years, and we had been brought Presumed from a producer we'd worked with, and when then we got the call that David was interested, it just was like, oh my God, let's please make this work. So it was a thrill to get to do it.
It does
I
feel
think
like
love of the book too was a real common denominator for both of us because
Yeah.
we both adored the IP.
Yeah.
So why was now the right time to revisit the book?
Well, you're not going to like this answer, but it's the truth, so I'll give it. The genesis started during COVID when companies were looking to make projects that could be contained and be COVID safer, and court stories were, organically contained. They were in boxes, they were in offices, they were in courtrooms. So how it first came to me, is there any legal thriller book that you would be interested in adapting? And the first one that came to mind was Presumed Innocent. I'd loved the book, I'd loved the movie. I thought with a limited series or a series, you could explore the book further because the movie was 2.5 hours, and you'd have to necessarily do some triage. But I always loved that book. The idea of tackling it was exciting to me. And then I heard JJ had it, so it led to the conversation. Hey, how about this? And I know Scott Toro a little bit, and reached out to him. And again, it was a great confluence, creative confluence, where I got to do material that excited me with people I really admire and respect.
Yeah, I'll just say for me, not only was it an opportunity to, as a real fan of the movie and the book, I found like the opportunity to work with David on this, not just because it was, David's one of my absolute favorite writers, but certainly in the legal realm has done some of the, the great edge of your seat storytelling in a courtroom you'll ever see. But I also know that, David was open to reconceiving or trusting the story and the characters to reveal kind of where it went, which is to say not being prescriptive in so far as what the book or the movie did. And that was exciting too, to see like, well, where will this go? And it was as much fun to get the scripts in and sort of see where David was taking it. As a producer, it was as much fun to be involved in that way as it was, I think, to be a viewer.
So talk to me about that process. Where did you begin thinking about how you were going to reimagine it?
Well, there's no science to it, no formula to it. The good news here is the architecture of the book was very sound. The plot was strong and the characters were well developed. So I think the first mantra for me is don't mess it up. There's great stuff to work with here. Again, I felt we could go in take our time where the movie could not. And I loved the movie, but we could maybe do more character work with some of the ancillary characters in a series. Also, Barbara was kind of an unknown in the book and in the movie, and I really wanted to know her and feel for her and care for her. And that was a bit of a departure for the book in a plank walk in and of its own, but it was exciting as a storyteller to delve into her. The one thing, and it all goes back to Scott Turow too. I mean, he is really one of the best at writing legal thrillers and character. is with Scott's pieces, you turn the pages for the plot, but when you put the book down, the characters are still gnawing at you. They're still worming their way into your psyche, and that's no easy task. And the other thing that he does, and that we hope to do with this series, is we knew the audience wasn't going to like every character. They may not even like Rusty,
Right.
but we would feel for them, and we would feel we know them a little bit. And what Scott did in the book, and what we tried to do here, is even though the characters are as complicated as they are, as flawed as they are, as contemptible as they might be in any given moment or scene, Scott never wrote those characters with contempt. Maybe their behavior, but he didn't have contempt for the core characters, and neither did we. I mean, my private fantasy is that every character will be some viewer's favorite character.
Absolutely.
And it probably speaks maybe to me more than others, but I love Tommy Molto in the book. I thought that this poor little soul was he must have been the last kid picked for the team in elementary school. He was probably bullied and tortured a little bit, and he's got all that stuff going on. And he's still got that stuff going on as an adult. And I love writing those kinds of characters. Scott planted the seeds for him in the book, and when we got Peter to inhabit him, it was kind of a dream come true.
That very much came through. JJ, was that something that you wanted to explore in this version? Was that how you worked with David in developing this?
Well, it's fun just listening to what you just said, David. The one of the things that got me so excited about this was, and it's true just by dint of what the story is, that you meet Rusty, like David said, there are going to be people who might not even like Rusty. This wasn't a story that felt like it could ever, and Apple TV Plus was wonderful in this regard. No one was ever asking us to make the characters likable. Right. It was all about telling the story and being true to the characters. And so, every character, almost to a person, there are moments where you think, ooh, that's a rough edge. And it's one of my favorite things about David's writing is that, again and again, characters will do things that are sometimes genuinely shocking, sometimes really off-putting and odd. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing that makes them fully dimensional, fully realized human beings. And so I loved the opportunity, and I think that David, in his work on this, seized it to tell a story with characters that were fully dimensional and not cookie cutter and not archetypical and not like pasteurized and processed to become audience favorites. They're audience favorites because people see their faults in them, and that's so valuable.
Well, look at the core of your story. You have a fundamentally unlikable character. You find out at the beginning you've got a hero that you're supposed to be rooting for, and you learn right away he's unlikable. He cheated on his wife, and yet you're rooting for him to be cleared of a crime, but yet you don't like him. That's a really hard balance for you to just start out of the gate with.
It is, yeah. And which makes casting paramount. And we had a great casting director with Jeannie Backrack, and she certainly had that in her mind when bringing all these characters, that you had to feel their humanity, even if you didn't approve of them or like them. And we were blessed with obviously an awesome cast here, led by Jake and Ruth and Peter and OT, and we did up and down the line. It was a pretty extraordinary cast.
So how did Jake get involved? How did he come on board?
Well, we all thought of him first and foremost. He was as the perfect Rusty. We sent him the script, and he said yes. So it was
made our job easy. That part.
Nice when it works out like that.
Yeah.
How involved was he in the development of the character? Did he have specific things that he wanted to see for Rusty?
Yeah, he did. He mainly wanted the character to be complicated, which is great. The note that you don't want to hear from a lead actor is, I want to be likable and huggable in every scene. And he never asked for that. He knew what he was signing up for. And he knew that Rusty as human and intense as he was also someone that the viewers were going to be appalled by. And I think he loved that challenge, that he is going to offend viewers, but make them feel for him at the same time. That's a mountain to climb for an actor. And and by the way, it is the actor's mountain. The writer, we can sit and write it all we want, but eventually you turn the keys of that particular car, you hand them over to the actor and say, okay, make them feel you. And he did.
Yeah, he certainly delivered that, because again, you have to be on his side, but my God, he certainly takes you along for that journey. He tests the audience for sure throughout the course of the season.
Yeah. And also it's a strong testament to Ruth, because Barbara's really kind of the emotional centerpiece of the show.
For sure.
And to ask the audience to forgive Rusty's trespasses, you need Barbara's help to do that. And Ruth brought such a powerful and emotional honesty to the role that she, as Barbara, licensed the audience to hang in there with Rusty. And
you established pretty early on that she knows that she's mad, but she's hanging in there. Yeah. The cocktail of emotions and story points that she had to play in any given scene, and many of them not with words, but with subtext. Well, we were all blown away by her. I think the other challenge you had was, for those who had seen the movie, read the book, we know who the culprit is. And so you're sort of doing this delicate dance of like, well, is it going to be her? Is it not going to be her? Are you playing with us? How did you approach that when you were arcing out the episodes and the season? Well, it was a challenge. We knew we would like to be different from the book and the movie. But at the end of the day, we're going to let the story, dictate to us what is most truthful to the story and most compelling to the characters and their arcs that we're portraying. So I went in and JJ did as well. Is there a way that it could be other characters besides the one in the book? So we went with that kind of leaning that it would be nice if we could find another way, but we were open to the idea. No, the best way still may be the original ending, and if it is, we'll go with it. Because I felt comfortable enough that the audience would know by episode 2 or 3, this is not the book, this is not the movie, anything goes. So it could be Barbara, it might not be Barbara. So I was confident that we could still have the fun of that journey. But then when we settled on our final twist, which is the ending, it's kind of the one we had in the mind from the onset, but I didn't really fully commit to it till probably episode 3. JJ, did you have any thoughts about the whodunit?
Well, what I was excited about was that, like I said earlier, David's willingness to trust the material, trust the stories, and let, while we all thought, well, we can't do the ending that everyone sees coming because they've seen that. At the same time, you don't want to do an ending that feels like that was the conversation that was had. And what was wonderful was watching, David work out who and how he felt this should go. And then along the way, there were conversations about maybe shifting things here, this way, that way. But that just really speaks to David's openness to the material, because you're not just looking at scripts, you start looking at dailies, you're looking at cuts. And it just seems like the story that David ended up with, which I think was, for viewers, it was such a stunning, satisfying ending. And it was wonderful to watch something adapted, not just in terms of, the character, but the plot, and then having it work so inevitably, even though that wasn't what Tarot had written.
For sure. When did you let the actors in on it? When did they find out?
They found out with the last script. So they were in the dark like everyone else. They were never asked to play a scene that wasn't any scene that they were playing up until then. They were to play the truth of the scene. We never had a scene in there where an actor was zigging instead of zagging for the sake of throwing the audience off the scent. The scenes that they got to play, each and every script, they played the truth of those scenes, and those truths were not belied by the ultimate twist.
No, I love that. So that they're not sort of like twisting their mustache in some corner somewhere. They're
Correct.
honest. Where did you so let's go back to the casting then for a second. So I love that Peter obviously has some personal relationship with Jake. Was that something that you played into
You'll
when
have
you
to talk to
casted?
them about that. All I know is working on screen. Whether they get along or not, I'm not sure. But, they certainly act well together.
Yeah.
So that wasn't something that you had intended when you brought him on.
No, it was Jake's idea to bring his brother-in-law on, so I figured Jake must get along with him. But it was not a hard sell, by the way, because we were all fans of Peter.
Yeah.
And to your point, he definitely played into the last boy picked for the soccer team really well. I mean, the audience very much responded to Tommy Molto throughout the season.
Yeah, yeah. I was quite thrilled with his, you know, the way he inhabited Tommy. I miss him. After shows or seasons or series, and I go through a little bit of a mourning period, missing the character. I found myself missing Tommy Molto.
He
was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all do. I mean, I think the sort of genius of the way this all played out is every character got a moment to shine throughout the season, and we all fell in love with each of them. And I think, throughout, as you went along in this journey, it wasn't so much sort of figuring out who did it while that was, in the back of your mind. You're sort of enjoying the twists and turns as these characters played off against each other.
Right.
Talk about how you wanted to, find twists and turns and give each character a moment to shine that stood apart. I mean, I'm thinking about someone like Bill Camp and how he brought his own twist to the DA. I mean, he just really stood out for me too.
That's a tricky one. I don't think I was ever going through an exercise. We need a twist here, or we need to do something to give that character a jolt. It was really trying just to be true to who the characters were and the story and what the story is, and the twists and the turns kind of revealed themselves. With Bill Camp's character and Raymond, I love that character in the book as well, and didn't want to say goodbye to him. So instead we did not use Sandy Stern, who I also loved in the book and the movie. We made Raymond Horgan the defense attorney. So that was a huge departure. One that Scott, I think he maybe scratched his head at first and then said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But the adultery and the infidelity part of the storyline, I felt it went beyond Rusty and Barbara. Obviously, the collateral damage to the children, that was self-evident, but really the tentacles spread further. They go to friendships, and Raymond himself was a victim of that infidelity, and that the fracture in that friendship, I thought, would be really fertile and viable opportunity for storytelling. And so I just wanted to keep Raymond in the mix, keep that relational equation and the fragility of it alive. And I'm also just a huge Bill Camp fan, and I always want to see more.
As do we all. So given the success of season 1, are you getting the band back together for season 2?
We are working on season 2, yes. So excited about it.
JJ, what do you have in mind for season 2? Anything you can tease for us?
It's definitely too early to talk specifics, as we and mostly David are figuring out the path that it wants to take. But the thing that I'm most grateful for, having seen this kind of thing happen, where there's a desire for something, movie, a TV show, whatever, there's suddenly a release date or a premiere date. This has to be about it being the right story and finding the right rhythm and the right, the right beginning, middle, and end. And it wants to live up to what, we were able to, and David was able to accomplish in season 1.
Great. Well, I'm sorry it took COVID to make this happen, but looking forward to seeing what the two of you catch together next. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers.
I appreciate it.
Thank
you
you.
very much.